What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of 10K on the Bay. Thanks for joining me. Whoa, sorry about that. Thanks for joining me. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update on what's going on and a couple of ideas on quantity versus quality. So, as you guys know, I started a second eBay store called Low Key Husky, and I spent a little bit of time this week focusing on buying items that will sell within 30 days. So, either garage sailing or random items around the house, and also some hype stuff that is popular. So the 120 items that I have listed in the past maybe 10 days or so, we've already sold 70. So sold over half in 2 weeks. So if I continue this trend, the sell-through rate should be like 80 to 100%. The margins are smaller, but the sell-through rate's really high because I'm only buying stuff that sells right away. I also just bought 20 pairs of shorts that I'm going to list on that account. Those should all go quickly because they're in season. So that's one strategy where you basically look for items that are in season or sell faster. Now, what I want to talk about is that requires a certain level of skill, right? You have to understand trends or be able to research and look at items. And I was thinking, okay, if I want a sellable business, you'd have to hire somebody to basically be an expert to go out and buy stuff for you because you can't just do it all yourself at a certain point. So let's take sort of an extreme example of hiring somebody like Nicole State. She is an awesome buyer, right? She has previous experience in retail. She understands a lot of brands. She's been doing it for a long time. What would somebody like her cost to hire as a buyer? In my opinion, well, at least in the Bay Area, I'd probably have to pay her $2,000 a week for her to go out full time to go do it at a minimum. Because somebody with that skill could get a job as a buyer for herself. She could run her own store, or she could work for a higher end store as a buyer, and that would also pay her probably at least six figures. So let's just assume 8,000 plus benefits, $2,000 a week, right? So if we did that, I would expect her to come back with, let's say, 400 items a week that could make $20. I think she would have zero problem doing that. That's only 80 items a day. And that's all she would be doing 8 hours a day, is looking for items that net me $20 or more. She understands the fees if that was her setup, right? And that's, if I was gonna pay myself to do that, it would be like $50 to $100 also an hour to go out there and hunt and learn trends and pick things. So because it requires a higher level of skill, it's harder to buy. But of course, if you had the skill to purchase items that are gonna make $20 and over, and that's all you were doing, and maximizing that part, because I know for sure it's sort of a waste of time for her to be listing when her sourcing skill is that high, because she can find someone to list for her for way less than $50 to $100 an hour if she were to spend 100% of her time sourcing. And I think that would be the best use of her time. I mean, actually, I don't know if that'd be the best use of her time. I don't know her situation, but I'm saying if I hired a buyer to go sourcing for me, and let's say I paid them $2,000 a week to come back with 400 items, that made me $20. That's $8,000 in profit, but it would cost me $2,000 for her and at least $2,000 for the stuff. So you're looking at $4,000 a week. Now, that would work in a metro area. Like I think, or she's in the Portland area. I'm in the Bay Area. And if you were in Texas or a major metro area, I think that would work because you could have the population to support a buyer that went out hunting for you. I'm testing this with a bunch of local buyers on a smaller scale, on a piecemeal. So you find an item, I'll pay you. Trying to get an army of people searching for items that are better. I want to sell multiple categories, so I'm okay with them bringing me deals from different ideas. But that's a really cool idea, but it requires somebody who's really skillful, because you're basically putting all your eggs in their basket. Like, are they going to be talented enough to pull off buying? And a lot of eBay sellers will say, oh, well, it's easy for me to make X amount of money. But the thing is, what do you value your time at, right? If you're an expert buyer, are you making $50 to $100 an hour buying, and then making $8 to $12 an hour listing and shipping when you get back home? That's not necessarily a good use of your time. If you can focus on what your strengths are, you might be able to make more. Okay, that's one strategy which I would definitely put in the category of quality, right? You're buying stuff that's going to sell within 30 days. That requires skill. You have to understand a lot of stuff. The other side of the road, which is great because I have 2 stores that are testing both models. By the way, update on 10K on the Bay. We are now at 3,000, or we'll be at 3,000 listings by the end of the week. I'm going out of town for a wedding, but my listers have finished the drafts. I just need to go in there and edit the drafts and submit it. We have about 600 drafts, and I have 300 ended listings that I need to go over, and we're at like 2,000 something. So when I get all that done, it'll be about 3,000 on my 3K journey or my 10K journey, and then my new store. Like I said earlier, 120 items listed, 70 sold. I'm quickly realizing how fast you run out of time. So, like people will say, why don't you just keep scaling that model? Well, I only have X amount of time to be an expert buyer on my end, right? I only have so many hours to go shopping and list and ship. And it's tough to really get beyond that. That's why I'm talking about potentially buying a buyer for quality. Now here's the opposite end, which is quantity. Right? Lower end, potentially, let's say I buy a Walmart pallet, right? So I buy stuff from Walmart, it comes to my house. Let's say I'm gonna average a $10 profit per item. And the 40 hours a week I would spend either sourcing or driving around or whatever. Instead of that, I just spend all 40 hours listing, right? That's a totally different model of doing it. But here I don't incur the cost of a buyer, right? I can sit at home, I can Google wholesale Walmart, figure out the distributor in my area, order one, it shows up in my house. There's no gas, there's no transportation, there's technically no storage cost if you do it at your house, kind of, right? Because you're already paying rent. There's a cost, but it's like you've already paid your rent, so you're not incurring an additional cost like a warehouse per se. And you're gonna make a lot less per item, but you're spending the same, all that time listing. And it depends. Like now your skill comes from how great are you at finding a pallet, or how good are you at processing broken electronics to put onto eBay. So these are all some ideas on how to do it. Now there's different ways of scaling, right? If I were able to find 5 or 6, I could find another buyer to go out there and buy really good stuff for me, right? Or I could do the buy more pallets and have more processing power, and eventually need probably a warehouse, a loading dock to get stuff in and out. There's different models there. Obviously, both models require people, but the quality model requires less people but better, if that makes sense. Because you're selling half as many items and making the same amount of money with a quality person, right? So if I had 10K on the Bay, all quality items, it would be insane. But since I don't think it's difficult to have quantity and quality, so I'm anticipating my profit margin on the 10K store is going to be $10 at the end of the year per item. Right now it's still at $14, but that's because there's still a lot of home run items in there from my previous sourcing before I switched to buying pallets of stuff. And I have a couple of pallets of electronics and books that I'm going to try testing to throw in there. So electronics and books, I'm going to try some different categories with the bulk and see how that works out. But and I also like retail returns because they're plentiful. You can get them from Target or Walmart or whatever. So that's interesting to me, but it requires more staff to handle essentially junk. But junk, in my opinion, has higher margins because you're just in the item for so little. Versus the quality people, like it's not unusual to pay $100 to sell for $300, right? That's really nice, but it requires a little bit more capital to do. Okay, so that being said, also I'm trying 2 models too with my community that I'm having fun building with you guys, which is like I have YouTube and Instagram, which is literally thousands of people that around everywhere. It's really, really cool. Like on my Instagram, I'm really grateful. It's over 7,000 people now. I just hit 5,000 subs on YouTube. Very cool. And I get all these questions, but I'm not super like helping people that much, because you guys can absorb what you can from the YouTube video, or you can look at my Instagram and get some ideas, and that's okay. But that's sort of the wide model. Well, and I also have Patreon, where I'm building a group of 100 people where we can share more in-depth strategies or ideas or wholesale connections or whatever in that group of 100 people, because that is different, right? So I anticipate that both the wide model of YouTube being a massive audience and sort of more generic information is going to make me the same amount of money as the 100 people that I serve individually. And so you can just pick whichever model. Like, one of the purposes of my channel is to show you guys different ways of doing things, and I like both. So I'm curious what it's like serving a small community of people. So those people, just to clarify, I'm not coaching them. I just have a mastermind call where you call each other once a week. There's an example on my YouTube channel with Gina and Fonda. You guys can see what a mastermind call looks like. But basically, we share ideas, share strategies, and you have a group of 5 people, and I don't share specific sources outside of those 5 people if you want to share for privacy reasons, whatever you're selling specifically. But in that 100 group that I have, I am going to share more specific ideas that I find, but not from the individual members. So you'll see that, quote unquote bolos or be on the lookout for items get shared in these larger groups, and then they're no longer items to look out for once they're shared, because there's just too many people in it. That's why I'm sort of going to shift my channel more towards strategy versus telling you guys what I buy. So I'm not totally degrading my own market, which, I honestly think there's a big enough market for everyone to be in it. But I'm planning on having a fairly large audience on YouTube. So I'm going to keep my super good buys for my 100 group. So for example, which electronics I'm looking for, but I'll share with you guys that, broken electronics and electronic pallets are very profitable. So if you Google in your area a local distributor, go look at it and check it out. I definitely recommend buying local pallets first. In my area, there are a lot of Target return areas. So I'm gonna go look at what they have to offer so I can be a little bit less risky, because if you're just ordering a pallet online, you don't know what you're getting necessarily. I'd like to take a look and see. I'm also testing storage auctions. So trying to figure out a way to get the inventory that I need. And then also shifting more towards a for-profit mentality versus how big my store is. So the reason why I picked 10K instead of I want to make $1 million or whatever is because I actually don't know what the money part of it is. I can control how many items I have on eBay, but I can't control the profit necessarily, especially since I'm relatively new. So I can't determine what the items are going to be cost-wise on how much money I'm going to make yet, right? It's going to take me a little bit of time to figure out how much money I'm going to make per item and how my different strategies work out. But I'm going to share both with you guys. The one where it's like I'm going and I'm hunting for the best stuff, the best brands. Like if you had all Gucci or all Anthropologie or all, Prada or Chanel, that stuff is so popular. Like you need like zero skill to get hundreds of views, right? If you have a Chanel purse for $100 under market, you're probably going to sell it because 300 people are going to try and buy it. So that doesn't require too much skill. You can just have it laying on your bed with no professional lighting. If you had pictures of all the authentication marks, you could sell it with basically no lighting kit, no setup, just because it's Chanel, right? And if you don't know what you're doing, maybe it takes you the whole month to find one Chanel piece to make $300 on, right? Not necessarily the best use of your time, but if you're an expert, these 5 consignment shops have Chanel, and I'm gonna go to those consignment shops every day. Then you've got an expert knowledge and you can scale your business sort of because you have more knowledge in the quality of item. But then again, you have to think about what your time is worth. Are you working 80 hours a week and making X amount, or are you working 40 hours a week to make it? So the quality versus quantity discussion is never going to end. There is no right answer, but I'm going to try both with everything that I do because I like both. I like having a huge store with items that I'm just buying according to the market and just waiting. I don't even mind honestly if it's like a 10% sell-through rate each month, because that means there's very little work. If it's 10,000 items and I'm only selling 1,000 a month, that's only 30 a day. That's really slow. I mean, really manageable. 30 a day is no problem. Versus, if I have 1,000 items in my store and I'm selling 800 a month, that's literally sort of the same volume, right? With 10 times less items. But that's a frantic, mad, crazy operation. Things coming in, things going out fast because you're turning over things so quickly. You can also use a smaller space. So there's a lot of different ideas. If you guys are still watching this video, please hit like and subscribe and help me out. It lets me know if these videos are good or not. Please help me share this in a Facebook group. If you want to check out my Patreon group, just to explain it one more time, it's patreon.com/10konthebay. In there, you can pick, like, you want to email me and talk to me, or you can do the $100 a month if you want to join my group of 100 people. I'm no longer doing the free ones, so all the free ones are now full. I might do a couple on YouTube to show you guys the format, but the true value in the mastermind group is not the coaching, it's the accountability and the friendships that you build with people. Like, for example, I was in one with Luke from Endless Entrepreneurs, and I couldn't handle the volume from a bulk buy, so I gave him a lead for 3,000 new tag items. So I'm going to be able to do that more and more as my following grows, because I'll get more and more opportunities. There's a lot of people who can't get this stuff listed, so there's opportunities to get stuff for super cheap, and I can't list all of it, right? If that was the case, then yeah. But since I'm going for more than just making money, I'm trying to build a community. I'm okay with sharing some different thoughts and strategies, because I like having a community of people. The huge one where I can kind of meet people all over the place. Like last night, I met somebody at a coffee shop, or this 100-person really small group that I can serve hopefully forever and have a more intimate, cool relationship with them. So let me know what's up, guys. Thanks so much. Email me at 10konthebay@gmail.com. That will always be free. Ask questions, reach out. I answer all my own email. And then, if you have any questions, hit me up. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.